Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our reaction and review for The Traitors Season 3, Episode 8. Now, before we continue, I'm actually being told something that I have to figure out a nursery rhyme in order for us to keep going. So let me... Are you figuring it out? Is this working out okay?
Yeah, row your little boat.
This is my favorite challenge, quite possibly in the history of the Traitors. I will forever remember it for everyone who watched the UK version of the show this year.
So funny.
This is the Alexander Memorial Challenge. Alexander, for one of my favorite reality TV contestants of all time. That man is precious. I love this challenge. It really helped to elevate, I think, this episode that was a little bit predictable in some other spots, but we've talked about this before over the years, whether it's this show, Survivor, Big Brother. I mean, we care about strategy, but I don't think, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I don't think either one of us are like super insane game bots. I think we're watching these shows to have a good time.
I'm watching to have fun. I want to watch bugs getting dropped on people. Love that challenge.
Yeah.
This challenge is easily one of my favorites. Like Matt said, we both watched it on the past season of the UK version of The Traitors. It was so funny. I just couldn't stop laughing. I was crying, laughing, kicking my feet.
Yeah.
And the same here. It's just so funny.
This is probably the first time this season that I've actually been happy that these two shows have mirrored one another when it comes to a challenge. But I mean, obviously, one of the big talking points in this video is going to be who should be recruited if the decision is made to actually recruit. Like, we're going to talk through that. I'm sure there will be some takes. We, of course, want to hear your guys' takes in the comments. Before we go any further here, though, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I mean, that's obviously a great way to support us here, and we appreciate that. But beyond all of that, next week is Jess's birthday.
I'm 50.
Yes, and we really want to get to that 70,000 subscriber milestone. Helping us to get there would be an amazing 50th birthday gift for Jess. You want to make Jess smile? I mean, look at her. You just want to make her happy. So please hit that subscribe button.
Thank you so much to everybody who is helping us to reach that goal. We've been doing this a really long time, and it means the world to us. We're also going to be covering Survivor, an Amazing Race here, Big Brother this summer. So if you're enjoying our Traitors coverage and you watch those shows too, hit that subscribe button. You can also help support us further on Patreon. We are covering The Pit, which is airing on Max, and Prime Target, which is airing on Apple TV Plus over there exclusively. It is the only place that you can get those weekly reviews. And thank you so much to all you guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate that so much.
Okay, Sam. Let's talk about Sam quickly here because he is really coming up. I mean, at the beginning of this episode, we had a lot of spotlight on Sam, and I was like, oh no, is Sam going? Like, we've barely heard from him, and all of a sudden, he's just coming out with these theories. Oh man, if anybody comes in from the church and they can't describe Alan's shoes, I know that they never saw him then and they're a traitor. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, if I was a traitor, I would not be able to describe Alan's shoes. I can't even remember what I wore yesterday, let alone what somebody else is wearing. As Matt said, I'm turning 50. I have old lady brain at this point. I would not have remembered. And Carolyn coming in and being like, I don't know what's happening. I was like, girl, I just would not know what is happening either. I'm not going to remember what he's wearing. Tom really was able to kind of like smooth things over for no reason for her, which I'm thankful for. Carolyn's my girl. But it was a really smart idea as long as the people you're talking about have a good memory, and not all of us do.
Okay, does anyone else out there know, and I'm not even like a huge wrestling fan anymore, but I was probably when I was like 12, but has anyone out there, seen that gif of like the Undertaker coming up out of the coffin?
Undertaker like, forever.
That was me. See, Kevin Nash forever, that's my guy. But Sam was the Undertaker in this episode, all of a sudden waking up from the dead, and he's actually been dead this entire game. We never actually previously saw him alive, but I was so impressed by him.
Me too.
Through a lot of this episode. And, seen some people in the comments being just sort of like, Sam's a bigger name than people are giving him credit for. He's got all these Instagram followers, but it's just like a lot of them, and there's no offense to Sam.
Lots of people have lots of Instagram followers that they've bought or because they are connected to somebody who's actually famous. Stop it.
Yeah.
People do not know who Sam is unless you're a Britney Spears fan.
Yeah, Sam is famous for one reason, and that's not any judgment on him as a person. No. It's just the reality of it. But I found him engaging. I liked learning a little bit more about his backstory. That's something that I didn't know about, and how perceptive he is. And to be frank, I thought this was really brilliant, and that this is something that I am surprised more people haven't really thought about. But if we're going to talk about brilliance, we also have to talk about blunders. And this is where I'm putting on a tinfoil hat pretty early in this video.
This is early. All right, let's go.
Did the editing make this incident with Carolyn so much worse than it actually was?
100%.
Okay, because I'll just be honest here. If I was in that room and they made it seem like Carolyn had no clue what was going on and that she did the worst job imaginable describing what Alan is wearing. Like, even if you can't remember his shoes, you can at least say his outfit, his hat, I don't know, something that makes people buy it. It just seemed like she said nothing other than throwing up a word salad. I would have banished Carolyn immediately if that's how it came across, because I think it came across really, really badly.
No, really badly. And even Tom coming in and being like, oh, his killed, his that, wouldn't have changed my mind. Carolyn would have been gone if that's how it actually played out. I do not think that is how it played out.
Yeah, I think there was just some embellishing that's going on. And we'll keep the tinfoil hats on here for a moment, because we'll talk a little bit about Danielle. There's been so many comments over the past couple weeks about how Danielle is a terrible traitor. She's playing the worst traitor game ever. And I'm just sitting here and being like, no, she's not. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that Danielle is the greatest traitor of all time, but she's still there. Like, she's made it further. Still there. She did better than Boston Rob. She did better than Bob. Like, she's done better than multiple traitors. And I'm kind of thinking, especially after this blunder, that maybe they've made Danielle in the edit come across a little bit worse than she actually is in the game, because I think they want to instill a level of jeopardy among the traitors, because they want us all to be watching and thinking, oh, somebody among the traitors could go at just about any moment. And for like 4 episodes, it was just Boston Rob was the only other seemingly viable candidate in the eyes of the faithful. So I'm willing at this point to maybe give Danielle a little bit more grace than I was a couple of episodes ago, because I just think the edit on Carolyn informed me a little bit here.
Absolutely. Listen, Danielle is somebody that I was rooting for before even coming into the show. When I heard she was in the cast, I was like, let's go, Danielle.
Yeah.
Has she been really chaotic, overplaying the crying? People are on to her. Yes, all of it. She is still there, though. So even though there's been a lot of heat on her, she's been able to kind of wiggle her way out of it many times. Kind of like season 2 of the Australian Traitors, which I'm watching right now.
Oh, you are?
Know,
Okay.
But she has been able to wiggle her way out of it. There's still smoke on her now. She's still able to kind of get her way out of it. Is she playing a perfect game? No. Has she put heat on herself for no reason? Yes. But she's been able to kind of move around it.
She's doing the best job she knows how to do in this moment with what's being thrown at her. She's still there. Kudos to her.
And Chrishell is not there, so we'll say goodbye to the Tom Sandoval vote every week that just gets thrown out there and burned for no reason.
Okay, so
except revenge and anger.
There's a couple of things to talk through when it comes to Chrishell going out at this point. I think one of the big ones, obviously, was this the right move for Danielle and Carolyn to make? They obviously had a few different options. It seems like their rationale was just, okay, Chrishell, you're never going to get banished. Everyone knows you're a faithful. And at the end of the day, like, I buy that, because you don't want to get rid of somebody who can maybe take a little bit of the heat off of you. And I think Chrishell, we've said this before, I understand I don't like Sandoval. I want to vote for him every week, because trust me, I would probably want to do the same thing. But it's just, the ideal way to play this game is you want to have just a little bit of suspicion on you. Not so much that you're going to get banished, obviously, but you want to be at least suspicious enough that the traitors are never going to want to get rid of you. And she never did anything to suggest that she was playing that kind of game.
Chriselle, to me, wasn't playing any game. The fact that you are coming to the table every week and just writing down Tom because you have this, pre-game problem with him, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
But then you're not actually here playing the game. I don't believe that Chriselle just automatically was like, yeah, he's absolutely a traitor. She has pre-game beef with him. She doesn't like him. She wants to prove a point, and I think she wants to show to her friend that she's loyal to her friend by just voting for him every week. And it's just like, then get out of the game. Like, if you don't want to be here to play and you're just here to prove how much you don't like Tom, man, we all don't like Tom. Like, it's fine. We're all on the same page. We don't need you to just throw away your vote and burn it on fire every week.
Yeah, I was really bummed out about the way Chriselle played, because I like Chriselle a lot, and I like how there are a lot of celebrities out there in the world who never really want to admit that they're like big time fans of Big Brother and all that, but it's like Neil Patrick Harris and her and maybe like a few others. So I really wanted to see her play well, but now I have to say something that I really hate saying. It's just that Tom Sandoval, you did make me laugh a couple of times in the first 10 minutes of this episode. The worst person I know on this show has made me laugh a couple of times.
Also, Tom is just starting to really figure things out. He was the last episode as well with Rob. He was really on the reasons why Rob was a traitor, and he was 100% right about it. I know other people were as well, but Tom had a really good argument for it, and he was really pinpointing it exactly right. And now he is starting to circle around Danielle for some of the same reasons, where he's just like, hey, Carolyn, remember that beef that you were having with Danielle? What was that about? I feel like it kind of got lost in the shuffle. Maybe we should bring that back and like let's talk about it, because now we're all kind of wondering, where to go from here. Let's start here. I was like, oh my goodness, he's not wrong.
The reality is the Traitors is a game of questionable behavior. Who knows questionable behavior or abhorrent behavior more than Tom Sandoval?
Yeah, who's going to sit at the round table and be like, girls are most likely to be cheaters. It's like, bruh.
He's such an idiot.
Oh my God.
Okay, so he did have the line, though, if I fart, only dogs will hear it, which was really funny. And I was sitting back and being like, who thinks that way? So it's like, that made me really laugh. The other thing that makes me really laugh every single time, typically when people walk into the room at breakfast, everyone celebrates. Tom walks into the room and nobody celebrates. Nobody is happy that he is still in the game. And I just find it unintentionally hilarious.
I also find it hilarious that every week Tom is like, how am I still here? And it's just like, I understand why he's thinking that. But at the same time, he's not really understanding that like nobody trusts him. Nobody's working with him. He's not a threat to anybody, even though he kind of is. But if people aren't going to listen to him, it doesn't matter what he's saying.
Yeah, nobody likes you, Tom. That's the reason why. This is like the opposite of real life, where this was kickball in elementary school. Tom would never be chosen, but you want to be disliked by people in this game as long as they don't think you're a traitor.
Absolutely. At this point, it feels like Carolyn could walk up to Tom and be like, yo, I'm a traitor. Don't tell anyone. And he will tell everyone, and people will be like, Tom, you're lying.
Yeah, like it's the only influence Tom apparently seems to have is if he's just saying something that 8 people have already said. And I think then at that point, they're like, well, I guess we should go ahead and vote for Rob now.
Okay, speaking of Rob, I know he's gone, and Wes is gone, and Derek is gone.
Yeah.
This episode, while there was a lot of stuff that was really funny, I love this Dollhouse Challenge.
It's so good.
It is so good, and it is so entertaining. That from a strategy point of view, I understand that a lot of those viewers are probably feeling the sting of losing Wes and Derek and Rob, the Cage Boys, because they really did bring a lot to the show. They brought a lot of drama and, strategy and chaos. And now that they're gone, I'm feeling it. I really am. Like watching them just go back to like, oh, we're going to go back to the coffin theory. Yeah. It's Sierra. Let's just all pile on Sierra. I'm like, oh man. Okay. Now we're at this portion of the game. No, please.
This actually reminds me, ironically, since you brought up Derek, it reminds me a lot of Big Brother 16, or even, honestly, this past season of Big Brother, where it's like the first half of the game is really action-packed, but then once you start weeding out all the big players, then it just becomes a little bit predictable, a little bit boring. You kind of know. some of what's going to happen. And so, I mean, with that in mind, you have to start kind of really looking for anything that you can find that's a source of great enjoyment. Like, I've got a couple of things in the first half of this episode, starting with Danielle when she took out Chriselle. She was so in character. She was just like, it is time to go. I know that's not exactly what, but she seemed like you was really, Danielle, I don't know if you win this show or not, but regardless, can you go and join your local community theater? Can you do something like that?
I love that she stayed in character for it. I know Carolyn was trying as well, but it was really good. And I was actually really glad that Chriselle asked why and that they gave her a real answer, which is just, you're never getting banished.
No, yeah, that's the truth of it. I mean, my other favorite moment before we get into the strategy part of all this in the challenge was just that while Sandoval was doing his whole thing, Alan completely lost it. For a split second, Alan, prestigious actor Alan Cumming, completely loses his character. He's just dying in the background. That was the first time I can remember on this show that I've seen Alan completely break.
Yeah, it was something to see.
It was really, really funny. But okay, the strategy thing that I found kind of interesting within this challenge, if we're going to talk about things from the Danielle and Britney point of view, like I've already admitted this in these videos, I'm very biased towards Britney. I'm team Britney at this point. I really like Danielle too, but Danielle had this interesting idea that was sort of, I want to make sure that Britney is on a team where Britney can potentially get a shield because she was already worried that Carolyn was going to want to take out Britney. And I
as she should.
I appreciate that there is this level of forward thinking on Danielle's part at this point because, you know, having an ally is really, really important. And it doesn't even matter if it's an ally who is a traitor or a faithful or whatever else. Like, I know, and, you know, this is getting a little bit into outside of the show conversation, but this has been out there that Britney has said, and whether or not this is true, it's all up for us to interpret, but Britney has said that she kind of had figured out that Danielle was a traitor, and that's okay strategy. But as we talked about last week, why isn't this show showing us this if that's actually the case and Britney's going into confessional and saying it?
Absolutely. I've said this in all these videos. Yeah. I would want to be a faithful. I would figure out who a traitor is. I would hitch my wagon to them and I would red bag them at the end and get them out. Like, there's just no better strategy than that, I feel. And so, I mean, if Britney had figured out that Danielle is a traitor and she's going to take Britney to the end, as long as Britney's ready to red bag her at the end, take that money, then you go Britney.
Yeah, and I think from Danielle's point of view, as long as you feel like Britney is not going to try to get rid of you anytime soon, regardless of if she's a faithful, a traitor, or whatever else, why not try to do whatever you can? And doing it this way, too, is a way to try to make it not appear as potentially shady to Carolyn that, okay, you're trying to make some sort of move. I admire the effort. Did it work? Absolutely not.
Why would Carolyn ever agree to recruit Britney? Carolyn's not the only person that has been, even Sierra was just like, Britney and Danielle are a clear duo. And, you know, Gabby, Sam, they also said this as well. Dylan thinks, you know, Britney could be a problem because of what Derek said. I was really surprised that Britney did not come up at this table barely at all. Yeah. Everybody sees that even if they were both faithfuls, there's something that's going on there where these two are a duo. And if I was another faithful, I don't want these two at the end because they're probably going to kick me out so that they can share the money. They, you know, have worked together and not worked together on Big Brother before. And they know each other and they're working together. They're very clearly a duo at this point. Like, I would need to split them up at this point. There is not a lot of people left. They cannot be working this closely together where there's nobody else that's really doing that at this point.
I've got a lot of weird galaxy-brained opinions about Danielle and Britney right now. Because I'm trying to think if I was a faithful on the show. I've already said I would want to be a traitor. But if I was a faithful on the show at this point, and I'm seeing these two be really, really close, there's a part of me, of course, that would think, okay, well, they both can't possibly be traitors, because if they were both traitors, would they really be this dumb to like constantly be close to each other? But at the same time, you know, could one of them be a traitor? Absolutely. Or beyond all that, it's exactly what you said, this idea of, okay, regardless of if they are a traitor or not, they're going to want to get to the end together. They're going to want to potentially split the money together. That means one less position. For me, it's just perfect. It just makes perfect sense from that line of logic. You would want to do something to kind of split the two up.
And also the fact that these two had beef from Reindeer Games, and then they've come in here and they've squashed it. If I knew what that beef was and I saw Danielle really trying to bring in Britney, I'd be like, okay, these two are trying to make amends. And if they are trying to make amends, and they have probably, and they're hanging out all the time, they are probably trying to split this money together to be like, you know what, let's do this together. We'll get to the end together. We will cut out everybody else. We will share this money together, and here we go, sort of thing. Absolutely not. Anybody else, you need to break these two up. It doesn't matter what their positions are.
This is a perfect segue ultimately for the big recruit or not to recruit debate at the end of this episode, because let's just pose this question first and foremost. Is it better to recruit right now, or is it better to just take someone else out from the group? Because I understand where Carolyn might be coming from with the let's just get rid of somebody, because if you're Carolyn, nobody really seems to be aware of you, despite the fact that you cannot describe what Alan Cumming is wearing for the life of you. You're still apparently more than fine.
I agree with Carolyn. I think that it's time to murder, and you just murder one more of the guys. You leave. If everybody thinks that it's a woman that's a traitor, no problem. This whole strategy of like, we have to bring in a traitor and then give up a traitor so that everybody feels good about themselves. You don't need to do that. Like, you really don't need to do that. As I just said, I'm just watching like right now, Australia season 2. You don't need to keep giving up traitors. You can just keep getting out faithfuls. It doesn't matter. So as long as you take out one more of the guys, and the guys are trying to get together to be like, hey, our numbers are dwindling. Let's like, you know, it's got to be a woman. Just take out one more of the guys. Their numbers are even less. There's still lots of women to choose from, and just target one of the other women to be like, oh, well, they're the traitor. They don't have to actually be.
I would say if I'm going to murder in this position, I hate to say this in a way because I have been rooting for him off and on, but I would take out Dylan at this point, just because Dylan is clearly socially better than a lot of the other guys who are left. I would consider getting rid of Sam, but I would be very worried if I am Carolyn, but this is based on the edit, of course. I would be very worried that if I got rid of Sam, who really got up this whole strategy about what Alan is wearing, that it would come back to look suspicious on me. So I would get rid of Dylan. He wasn't directly looking at Carolyn, but you're really weakening the strategic aptitude of the dudes.
I just think, especially with this season, that traitors pulling out other traitors and that whole sort of thing that's going on, or going after people that have come after you, it hasn't worked. And it hasn't worked for many different seasons, many different sort of international versions of it. If I was a faithful and I saw somebody going after somebody and they like really hard and they came out to be a traitor, I'm immediately going to think that you're a traitor as well. I am not going to think that you're a faithful. I'm going to think that you have knowledge, and I'm going to think that you have to go. So the idea of like bringing in a Britney, making her a traitor, and then getting her out, which might be something Carolyn might have been thinking about, even though she definitely didn't say it here. It's just not a great strategy, because the strategy has been used so many times by traitors, and it's always a traitor that seems to be getting out another traitor.
See, here's where I'm going to pie myself on the face, because if I'm Carolyn at this point, I'm not saying I would want Britney to be a traitor, but I would, if Danielle is pushing really hard for it, I would just be like, okay, you know what? Go ahead, let this happen. Here's my explanation why. It could really come back to bite you. Like, remember, I also said that Boston Rob should go ahead and get rid of Derek, and that really
what a mistake.
I know, that came back to bite him too, but I was just thinking at that point, his target was so big already that he might as well do something like this and hope that somebody else does something stupid and he can find a way to stick around.
I saw that after interview, and Derek, when he won, when Rob walked in, Derek was like, I got you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you did.
Congratulations. Mutually assured destruction, guys. But I'm just thinking with the vantage point right now that Carolyn's okay. Nobody really seems to be coming that much for Carolyn. Everybody's already thinking about Britney. And you mentioned that this is something that has been done on other versions of the show. And I do agree with that. I just feel like there's not a lot of other like really known suspects among the faithful right now. And so if you already know it's kind of between Danielle and Britney already based on what we've seen, just go ahead, let one of them come in there. Yes, the risk is that they are going to band together and find ways to get you. Yeah, it's a risk, but
assured they are going to band together to get out Carolyn. But assured.
I just don't know if they're going to be able to get the votes from other people in order to make that happen. And that's where I'm just thinking, okay, you know what? I would be reasonably not okay, but I would let it slide if this is a situation where it allows Danielle, and this is the only benefit I can think of for Carolyn to do this, other than everything I've just said. If this is actually a way to sort of rebuild a little bit of trust with Danielle so that Danielle maybe lets her guard down a little bit, and then you can try to use that to get other people to go after Danielle at this next banishment, and you might be able to pull the wool over her eyes a little bit. Because just based on where things are right now, Danielle is a bigger threat than Britney. And I love Britney, but Danielle is considered one of the best Big Brother players to never win the game. Britney got duped by the Brigade and then had a really bad blindside in Big Brother 14. Danielle's just such an enormous player that I would do whatever I could to get her out first.
I just think that if Carolyn allows this to happen, she's written her own way out. They are definitely, assuredly going to band together to get her out. Once, I think it is a very different dynamic with Britney the faithful thinking that Danielle is also a faithful, working together, and two traitors working together to get out another traitor, because there's more of a motivation there for them to be like, oh, we're going to serve up Carolyn. So everybody thinks it's a woman. We'll serve up Carolyn. Everyone will feel good that they got a woman, and it'll take the heat off of us 2 against 1. Carolyn would be a complete idiot to do this, and I don't think she is. And she's very stubborn, and Danielle has burned her, and I mean burned her.
It's true.
Not only went out there, spread her name all over town, but when they came back into the turret and Danielle's like, I'll fix it. She didn't fix anything. She didn't speak to one person. She didn't fix it at all. She did nothing. Carolyn is absolutely right to put her foot down on this. Carolyn has let lots of stuff slide with Rob and Danielle and everything that's going on in the turret. This is it. She needs to put her foot down on this. If she lets Britney in there, it is the mistake that ends her game.
Let's talk about the other side of this now, because Gabby is the other name that's been sort of brought up here, and I'm going to make a bold prediction. If Gabby gets recruited, Gabby's going to win this season, because I just think that Gabby is not being taken seriously as a traitor. I don't know if she's being taken seriously as a player at all, which is unfortunate because I think Gabby is pretty smart.
Yeah, she is. She's picked up a lot of stuff at the beginning of this.
She's picked up a lot of stuff. Danielle's already going to be a much bigger target than her. You recruit Gabby, I think Gabby will help to get rid of Danielle if that situation arises. Because why does she have any reason? She doesn't have a reason to be loyal to Danielle.
No, and her and Carolyn are each other's like number ones at this point. So, I mean, that completely benefits Carolyn.
Yeah.
Neither of them should allow
I know.
Gabby or Britney to be in this turret with them. They need to just murder, and they need to murder a dude, and they need to put it on one of the other girls.
Yeah, it's just, that's the only solution that actually probably makes sense here, unless you're willing to take some sort of big risk, because otherwise you're just making a move that benefits one of them and possibly really hurts the other one based on the options. And we already have the men kind of being like, all right, so this is my man voice. All right, so we there's one of these women.
Your regular voice is not your man voice, Matt.
Listen,
what's happening?
The man voice. I am separate from the men of the Traitors. I will not be categorized in a group that includes Tom Sandoval and also Sam, who my other funniest moment of saying, why are you wearing the night helmet at one point? He's in that room with the helmet on.
So funny.
It's so weird, but they're so dead set on there being a woman traitor that's in that mix that, yeah, you have to get rid of one of them. I just think you get rid of Dylan because he just...
Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, what's Ivar going to do? He is still doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, Ivar is not a threat to anybody. Nobody listens to Tom. He doesn't matter. Sam is coming to the game now, but it's a little bit late in the game. So, is that really going to go anywhere? Maybe. But Dylan definitely has had some influence with the guys. He's the right choice.
Okay, now before we do go here, let's say a little bit of a farewell to Sierra, who I think had a really unfortunate end to this season just because nobody apparently had any sort of gumption or willingness to sort of think outside the box. And here's another tinfoil hat. I just think that at this point in the game, some of the people who are a little bit more outside the box thinkers were probably just like, okay, keeping Sierra doesn't really benefit my game that much anymore. Maybe I'm not that loyal to her. Somebody's got to go. So I'll just let these people ride with this stupid coffin theory that the traitors, you brought this up earlier this season. We've already seen seasons where a traitor is in the coffin there's no reason why they would have done that again. It was such an easy way out to get rid of Sierra at this point.
Very boring round table. It just felt like a pile on for no reason.
Yeah.
Britney was right there. Everyone is suspecting that there's a problem with her and with Danielle and them being a duo. I truly can't believe that this wasn't brought up a lot harder than it was at this point. I guess at the end, everybody was really like, let's just get this coffin idea off the table here so we can all move on.
All right. So before we wrap this up fully, I'm going to say I'm still rooting for Britney, but I think that if Gabby gets recruited, Gabby's going to win. And if Britney does not get recruited, I actually think Carolyn has a good chance of winning too.
I'm still Team Carolyn. I really like Gabby. I actually would like to see both of them win together and just go to the end together. And they are close enough that they may decide to do something like that and be like, yeah, we'll split the money. It's fine.
All right. Well, that's where we are coming out of the Traitors Season 3, Episode 8. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's just his birthday. Help us get closer to 70,000. We really appreciate all your support. And we also appreciate everybody who is joining our Patreon. We have that link in the description over there. Exclusively, we're covering Prime Target on Apple TV Plus as well as The Pit.
Yep.
Thank you guys. We'll see you here next time.